What's going on, everybody? This is Kerry Wood, aka C Wood on Sports, if you follow me on Twitter. I want to welcome you into another edition of Sports and Swag Radio right here on Spreaker.com, also on SoundCloud. Thank you for joining, and let's talk a little bit, really quick about the NBA playoffs that are about to begin here in a few hours. Just wanted to kind of chime in and kind of give you my thoughts on what I think is going to go down here in the first round. My predictions and all of that good stuff. While I don't think you can sit here and compare the NBA playoffs to March Madness, this first round is about as close as I think as we're going to get. There are so many intriguing matchups that I think are really toss-ups. I mean, I think there are a lot of them that are going to go right down to the wire, go 6-7 games, and I'm telling you, I don't know if you can sit there and pick a clear favorite in a lot of them. So let's get started and look at a few of those matchups. The first game out of the gate today is the Boston Celtics hosting the Milwaukee Bucks. And on my website, I did a little bit of a preview on that series, talking mainly about Brad Stevens and the effect that he has on Boston and how he's, really brought that franchise, to new heights since he came over from Butler University. So if you get a chance, please check that article out. Again, it is on sportsandswagreport.com. And again, you look at Boston without Kyrie Irving. I know a lot of people are kind of down on them big time, which I can understand, because you look at, there's not really a dynamic player at all, as far as handling the ball, shooting the basketball or whatever. But the one thing that Brad Stevens brings to me, to that Celtics ball club, is mental toughness. And that's something the Milwaukee Bucks just don't have, or at least to this point they haven't shown that they have it anyway. The Bucks, to me, should be, they're sitting as the 7th seed, but they should be sitting in the 3rd or 4th seed slot, in my opinion. That's where a lot of people picked them before the season started. And for them to be sitting 7th is very disappointing. And I think you're going to see why in this series. I think it's going to be a long series because, quite frankly, of course, Boston can't score. They're not going to be able to throw 2 or 3 guys at Milwaukee and have them score 20 points or whatever. But what I do think is going to happen is Milwaukee's going to have more breakdowns. You're going to see their youth kind of surface at the wrong times in games, and I think that's going to allow for Boston to win this series. I think they're going to win in 6 or 7 games. Again, please check out that article on sportsandswagreport.com. I think you'll enjoy it. And let's move on. So that's the 2-7 series there in the Eastern Conference. The other intriguing series, in my opinion, in the East is the 3rd-seeded Philadelphia 76ers going up against the 6th-seeded Miami Heat. And again, that's maybe not the most sexiest matchup on paper when you look at, Miami doesn't really, besides Goran Dragic and Hassan Whiteside, the big center for them, not a lot of sizzle to that basketball team. I understand that, but when you look at the 76ers, Ben Simmons, who's up for the Rookie of the Year award, Joel Embiid, who's not going to play game 1. I'm not sure about his status for the rest of the series, but if he's available, I just don't see a way for Miami to win this series. But I do think Miami can be very competitive. And I think that's going to allow it to be a 6, maybe even a 7-game series. And again, we're looking at a Philadelphia team that hasn't been in this spot before. Not only have they not been in the playoffs, but they've never been, the team that's been the favorite. So how do they handle that? We'll find out here shortly. Again, that game is today as well, game 1. That's the evening game. I think it's 7 o'clock local time here, Central Time, be 8 o'clock Eastern. And it's going to be, that's what I'm talking about. Very intriguing series. Miami looking to regain what they've had over the last several years with LeBron James and all of that, and trying to start new. And, you know, of course, they have Dwayne Wade coming back with that basketball team. And I don't know. Again, it's a very intriguing series still because we just don't know what we're going to get out of the 76 or so. But again, I'm going with Philadelphia. I'm going to go with them in 6 games, and I think it's going to be a really, really good series. So let's move on to, in the Eastern Conference, the 4-5 series. Well, first we'll knock out the 1-8 series because there really isn't a need to really talk about that series, to be honest with you. The Washington Wizards are clearly the most disappointing team in the NBA this season. Really, you can say that over the last couple of seasons, they've been the most inconsistent with the most talent. The talent level that they have: John Wall, Bradley Beal, Otto Porter, Marcin Gortat. I mean, they don't have a lot of bench, but I don't know, man. It's just mind-boggling what we've seen go on in Washington, D.C. And I understand John Wall was hurt for a good bit of that time this season, but that team has underachieved humongously, and they're going to lose this series. I think they're going to lose it in 5 or 6 games, to be honest with you. I don't think Toronto's going to sweep them or anything like that. Toronto, again, this is another team that we'll have to see what we get from them, but I just think Toronto's too good to lose this series. I think they'll move on, and then we'll talk about the 4-5 series. That is the Cavaliers, the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James going up against the Indiana Pacers, Victor Oladipo, who's probably going to be your comeback player of the year. Again, very intriguing series because not necessarily for what Indiana necessarily brings to the table, but really for what Cleveland has not brought to the table. You know, but I just, again, this, after the trade that went down that, you know, with Utah Jazz that brought them, and of course the Lakers were involved in that trade as well with Larry Nance Jr. Just haven't seen much change in the Cavaliers, to be perfectly honest with you. I think they're a better ball club than they were before that trade, there's no question. But those guys haven't come along. And then, of course, they've had a lot of injuries. Kevin Love was injured. We saw injuries to Larry Nance Jr. there for a minute or whatever. Kyle Korver, untimely death of his younger brother. A lot of things hurt Cleveland, but still, just, I don't know, man. It's something not quite right with this team. LeBron kind of fixes things, though, doesn't he? LeBron James is still in the fold, and again, I think Cleveland will find a way to win this series. They'll probably find a way to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, that's just what they do. Probably. But that second round matchup, which I think is going to be against Toronto, is going to be very interesting. So we'll see what happens. But again, I think they'll win this series against Indiana. Indiana has really been one of the surprise teams this year. Victor Oladipo, again, is going to be comeback player of the year. I don't think there's any question about that. I just don't know if they have enough to win 4 games against Cleveland. So we'll give Cleveland that series. So let's recap. In the Eastern Conference, I've got Cleveland moving on against the Toronto Raptors in the second round, and I have the Boston Celtics moving on against the Philadelphia 76ers. So pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4. So as unpredictable as I think it could be, I kind of come up with all the favorites winning in the East. In the Western Conference, that might be a little bit different story. I think if you look at the Western Conference, most people are always going to think about the Western Conference being the superior league, and That's true again this season, no doubt about that. But I think the gap is closing because, but then again, the conference. I mean, I think the Eastern Conference is getting stronger. I really do. I really do. But the West is getting stronger as well, and it's because of teams like the New Orleans Pelicans. That is one intriguing series with the Pelicans being the 6th seed going up against the Portland Trailblazers, who are the 3rd seed. More than likely, more people are going to pick Portland to win this series. Damian Lillard has had a fantastic season this year. CJ McCollum, his backcourt running mate, has been unbelievable. One of the best backcourt tandems in the NBA. I've got the Pelicans winning this series, though. Anthony Davis has been playing out of his mind. The brow has been unbelievable. I like Portland, what they've done, but New Orleans, man, you have to really sit down and look at their record here in the second half of the season. It's been one of the best in the NBA. And then a lot of that has been without DeMarcus Cousins. Boogie going down is not, and they have not skipped a beat, to be perfectly honest with you. They have not skipped a beat, and you have to, kind of argue maybe that his absence is helping Anthony Davis on the offensive end of the floor. I think Mirotic coming over from the Bulls was a good pickup. A lot of people were kind of down on him when he first got there, but I think he's really kind of settled into his role, playing next to Anthony Davis. And then I think Drew Holiday is really having a career season. I think they've got enough to win this series. I just really do. Rajon Rondo is a veteran. He's been there before. He'll help out defending Dame, of course. Drew Holiday has been solid defensively as well. I just like New Orleans in this series. I think they'll win it. I think they'll find a way to win this thing in 6 or 7 games. Again, another long series, though. So, let's move on. Let's talk about the 4-5 matchup. That would be the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz come in with a lot to play for, of course. Donovan Mitchell looking like the Rookie of the Year. I think he should be over Ben Simmons. I like the Jazz in this series. I know that's kind of going against the grain, but I like the way the Jazz can play. They can play fast, they can play slow, and I'm just not sure what's going on offensively with the Thunder, with Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, Westbrook. Who's going to be the guy at the end of games who's going to be their go-to guy? Can they play up-tempo enough to, maybe keep Rudy Gobert from being as big a deterrent at the rim? I don't know. I like Utah in this series. Again, I think it's going to be a long series again, though. I think it's going to be 6 or 7 games, but I like Utah. In the other 2 matchups, the Rockets, the number 1 seed against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I like them, and I think the Wolves will get a game or maybe 2. Again, the Rockets have been very strong against them. And then in the other series, the 2-7 matchup, Golden State Warriors and San Antonio Spurs. I like the Warriors to win that series, of course. I think the Spurs will get a game. That's probably about it. But anyway, again, that's how I look at these NBA playoffs, the first round anyway. All of it goes down here just in a few hours. Again, thanks for joining me right here on Sports and Swag Radio. I'm out.